Hi friends, how are you doing today? It's been a while. I've been well. As you can see, I moved again. I've been pretty busy with research, had a couple of health scares actually, and weird skin sensitivity issues. And so we're going without makeup today. Sorry to my Yanfen. And yeah, I've been pretty busy trying to exercise more, getting back in shape. But thankfully, VO2 max has bounced back. And so hopefully starting now-ish, I'm kind of going to start setting aside time again to make some videos. I'm planning a video on Mongol women, as well as finally getting back into Chinese architecture. But today, this video is kind of impromptu and not that scripted. The context is I've been missing a friend greatly, and it and my train of thought has led me to think about the writing of this wonderful soul, and some of her writing took on new meaning, and I really resonated. And so I want to introduce her. Her name is Lin Huiying. She was an artist by nature, architect by training, and poet by vocation. She was a poetic romantic spirit who led a legendary life that really embodied qualities like resilience, curiosity, passion. She has always been an inspiration and aspiration for me, and I don't think my video can do her justice. I highly recommend this book here, which was written by Wilma Fairbank, a dear friend of hers, and is heavily based on written correspondence through which we really get a glimpse into the mind of Lin Huiying. And actually, I want to start my account of her life from near the end. A quote from the last letter that Wilma Fairbank received from Lin Huiying, written somewhere between November and December of 1948. The context is that this is 1 year after she had undergone a kidney surgery. Following the surgery, she was still quite weak, and she had post-operative fevers. The operation was performed on December 24th, 1947. And before the operation, Lin Huiying took the effort to bid Wilma goodbye. She writes, "Goodbye, dearest Wilma. How nice it would be if you would suddenly drop in and present me with a pot of flowers and a whole torrent of nonsense and laughter." By mid-February of 1948, she had thrown off a post-operative fever, and her strength was gradually returning. Her husband, Liang Sicheng, commented, "With it, her mental activity returned, which, as a nurse, I do not welcome. She bursts into verse after verse, and recently she also dug up a few old poems from her piles of manuscript and sent them to various magazines and literary supplements of newspapers. 16 poems sent out within a few days, and as usual, they're very good." And so it is under this pretext that what I'm about to read, which is from her final letter to Wilma, approximately December 1948. Yeah, so in this letter, she actually comments on Wilma's husband's new book, The United States and China. Her husband is John Fairbank, by the way. Here's the quote. "My only regret, if I have any, is that no Chinese art has been touched on in the summary, though I don't quite see what art has got to do with foreign relations issues. Still, art is so much a part of us that when talking about us in general, it is still somehow there too, mixed with semi-conscious complications in us. When I say art, I mean poetry also, of course, and by that, I mean also perhaps the particular sensitivity and aesthetic emotional experiences aroused by or reached through our language. Our peculiar written characters, word pictures, phrase structures, literature, and literary traditions and heritages. Our peculiar language is really 3 parts rhetoric and poetry and only 1 part clear and precise speech. What I mean is perhaps that this rich, self-contained language, poetry, art combination also made us what we are and think and feel or dream." And it's just really amazing that through reading her correspondence, you can really feel the brightness of her spirit, her wisdom, and her beauty. And especially when you consider the context that she was already very weak from her surgery, and she passed away a few years later. And yeah, I hope that gives a little bit of a glimpse into this wonderful character that she is. And so now, given that, I'm going to start back at the beginning of her life. So Wilma Fairbank describes Lin Huiying as an artist by nature, an architect by training, and a poet by vocation. She was born into a wealthy, influential family. Her dad, Lin Changming, was a well known scholar and government official whose poetry and calligraphy were prized by his circle. In 1920, when Li Huiying was around 16, she left Beijing and went with her father halfway around the world to London. When the League of Nations was established after the end of World War I, the Chinese also created their own League of Nations association. Lin Changming was a co-founder and became the director of the organization, and so he went on league business to London for an extended stay and took his favorite daughter, Lin Huiying, with him. A lot of visitors, Chinese and others, would come and pay respect to Lin Changming. And through these visitors, Lin Huiying was also able to make connections that influenced her a lot. And so, of course, one of those visitors was Xu Zhimo. And for those who don't know, he's often thought about also as one of the most wonderful Chinese minds of the time. So Xu Zhimo was 10 years older than Lin Huiying. So actually, at first, he was drawn to Lin Huiying's dad, Lin Changming, because they really were kindred spirits. But as he became a more frequent visitor to their house, so as Wilma Fairbank writes, Lin Huiying had a delicate beauty that attracted immediate attention. Her artistic temperament, so like her father's, her liveliness, her lightning perceptions, her literary bent were all enthralling to Xu, and so he fell in love. And I really like how Wilma Fairbank framed the relationship between Xu Zhimo and Lin Huiying in terms of the effects on Lin Huiying. And so I'm going to read what she wrote. Listening to Lin Huiying talk of Xu years later, I noticed that her memories were always linked with literary names: Shelley, Keats, Byron, Catherine Mansfield, Virginia Woolf, and others. It occurred to me that in his devotion, he may have assumed the role of teacher and guide, leading her into the world of English poetry and drama, the new beauty, new ideals, and new feelings that were captivating him at the same time. In this way, he could delight in her sensitive reactions to the books he loved and the dreams he cherished. He could weave a spell. I had the impression that she was entranced with Xu's personality, his enthusiasms, and his ardent feelings for her. She was not, however, as some have imagined, a sophisticated woman at the age of 16. She was a schoolgirl living in her father's house. Xu's passion for her did not call forth an equal response from the inexperienced girl. His entry into her life was a great adventure, but it did not tempt her to break out of the future course her family had chosen for her. But Lin Huiying and Xu Zhimo did remain lifelong friends, and I think that Lin Huiying did love Xu Zhimo, maybe loved his mind more than anything. Let's take a little digressive leap into time just to illustrate this love of the minds. On November 1931, Xu Zhimo, then 35, was flying to Beijing to meet his teaching obligations at PKU. And that evening, he expected to attend a lecture on Chinese art and architecture that Lin Huiying was giving for some foreign visitors. She went to the airport to meet his plane, but of course, he did not arrive. The plane had crashed in heavy fog into a mountain in Shandong. So a very sudden death. On the 4th anniversary of Xu Zhimo's death, Lin Huiying addressed a message to him. As Wilma Fairbank translates, it concluded with the following quote, which I think really touched me. Whether or not our works will outlast us depends on whether they will live among those we will never know. The readers of our work are scattered in time and place, in the solitude of many who are totally unknown to one another. Dear friend, you should not underestimate the importance of this kind of indirect existence. Many earnest people live on for you. The meaning of their lives increased. What is heartbreaking is the fact that for those closest to you, your absence leaves a void that can never be filled. Yeah, this is only one of the many beautiful pieces of writing and poetry that she wrote following Xu's death. Yeah, and it really did touch me. Yeah, so now back from the digression. After coming back from London, her and Liang Zicheng, with whom she was already informally engaged, went to UPenn to do their professional training. So actually, Lin Huiying was the one who was first super passionate about architecture, and she was the one whose passion inspired Liang Zicheng to want to study architecture. I'm mentioning this because for those of you who don't know, Liang Zicheng is known as the father of Chinese architecture. Yeah, and this episode in their lives, I think, really does illustrate some things about Lin Huiying's character, but also the times that they were in. Because ironically, when they arrived at UPenn, Lin Huiying found out that the architectural school was for men only. And now I start reading from Wilma Fairbank's book. The explanation leaked out. Architectural students had to work on their drafting at all hours of the night, and the unchaperoned presence of women would be improper. Liu Huiying had no choice but to enroll with other women in the University School of Fine Arts. It had been her enthusiasm for the profession of architecture that had inspired Sicheng to come to Penn. That she herself should be denied the training was unbearable. In fact, she did not accept it. The university's records reveal that by the spring term of 1926, she was a part-time assistant to the architectural design staff. And for the academic year 1926 to 1927, she was a part-time instructor in architectural design. How she managed to break through the regulations, we don't know. Yet even in their first year, Lin Huiying was attending classes with Sicheng. And something else that gives us a portrait of Lin Huiying in this time period of her life is a description of her from an interview by an American fellow student writing for his hometown paper. She sat on a stool by the window overlooking a campus walk, perched in front of a desk in the drafting room, a small figure to be bent over a massive architectural problem, which, when hung in the judgment hall with 30 to 40 others, will receive a high award. This is not a rash prediction. Her work has always received the highest grades, or occasionally second. Quiet, but with a sense of humor, unassuming, personal achievements did not once enter her conversation. And because of this, I think in my description of her life, I am also not going to focus on her many, many, many accolades. After their professional training at Penn, in 1928, they returned back to China, and they were the founding faculty members at the Northeastern University in Shenyang. In 1930, Lin Huiying received a tuberculosis diagnosis that brought the family back to Beijing. And between 1930 and 1937, she and Liang Zicheng had many, many, many accolades, both in the field of architecture and in her writing. But I'm not going to dwell too much on those. I'm going to show two more snippets of her writing that really touched me. And I think that's something I really like about this book is that rather than tell the story of a really legendary woman, it kind of leads us into her soul, which to me is much, 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 much more intimate. And I just feel like after reading this book, I made a friend. The first piece of writing that I want to share is an elegy that Lin Huiying wrote for her brother, Lin Heng, who died in air combat in 1941. And of course, the context is that in the period between 1937 and 1945, Lin Huiying and Liang Zicheng spent that time trying to survive the war. And of course, the Japanese invasions happened. And so they escaped to Tianjin and then I think to Kunming in Yunnan. And finally, they ended up in Lizhuang in Sichuan province in 1940. Shortly after that, the news came that Lin Huiying's third younger brother, Lin Heng, died in combat. And a note from Lin Huiying reads, "My younger brother, who distinguished himself as an unusually skillful aviator, was killed in an air battle in which he had the satisfaction of shooting down one Japanese plane, poor boy, before he was himself brought down, shot through the head." Right. And so now I'm going to read this beautiful elegy that she wrote for her brother. Now, this poem really, really touched me because not only do we obviously get her grief, I feel like through this poem, we got to know her and her thoughts and emotions about also the age, the times that she's in, and her identity during this turbulent and confusing time. Brother Heng, I don't have the language suitable to our age to mourn your death. Our age had asked you, and simply you had given. This cruel, simple, heroic sacrifice is the poem of our age. The somber glory is you. If this reality, supposedly unavoidable, has brought too much sorrow, I want to shout, this you yourself understood all too clearly, because you left too soon. Ah, too soon, brother. Your bravery got you into trouble, the backwardness of technology, the tragedy of chance. It has been 3 years since you died in the skies over Chengdu. If I tell you about them, please don't grieve, because mostly it isn't our old nation, but others who are controlling this age. Our souls bleed. They are bombed to nothingness. Now we have allies, materials, and arms, just as you had wished. I remember how we used to discuss and discuss, count and recount. Each day you waited with such patience, but each day passed with nothing happening, slow as a camel. Now the pursuit planes are not what you had most hoped to pilot, like the Hawk 75, so awkward and slow. Ah, my brother, don't grieve. You accomplished whatever could be accomplished. Let's not talk about who wronged you. It was the age, hopeless, unweighable. China has yet to move forward. Dark night waits its daybreak. Brother Heng, I have used all these words, not beautiful as poetry, to mourn you. Try to believe when I say my heart is too filled with bitterness, my throat too numb. You will never come back, I know. Blood young and warm became the substitute for science. The sorrows of China forever sank into the bottom of my heart. Ah, don't grieve. If you do, I won't be able to comfort you. Every day I thought through 100 times. You'd given all you had, like the other brothers, who were gone the same way. You made a gift of your life freely. Everything that was young, the future making its promises, what might have been accomplished in maturity and the wisdom of the old. All possibilities of love, family, children, and all the privileges and happiness life has to offer, as well as its confusions. All of you who have given so much, but for whom? You believe the happiness of the Chinese people more important than yourself, must come before everything else. That immortality that is the history of China must live on. You believed you also had your accomplishments. In the end, you delivered everything. Since I understand all this, why am I still mourning for you? Is it because you who are so young left nothing of yourself? When you were a child, I prayed for your happiness. When war started, I prayed that you would be safe. Today, you've left no children for me to look after or comfort, and you yourself seem forgotten by so many of your countrymen. Ah, my brother, for whom did you make your sacrifice? For whom? The last snippet from Lin Huiying's letter that I want to share really shows for me like her romantic filter, her resilience, and that which makes her happy, and her value of friendships, and a lot of things in this last letter, and as well as just her cheerful tone, really did resonate with me. This letter takes place after she was diagnosed in 1946. So she has long suffered from tuberculosis, but the severity of her situation was checked by a famous American chest surgeon who told Wilma Fairbank that he concluded both lungs were involved as well as a kidney, and that in just a few years, perhaps 5, her brief but vivid life must come to an end. And Wilma writes in the book that she did not tell Lin Huiying, and Lin Huiying did not ask her. Wilma says, I believe she knew all along. And so given the situation and her frail health conditions, she couldn't really travel far, even though the war ended. And so one plan was that it could be possible that she could go to Kunming, where a lot of her old friends were. And keep in mind that because of the war, it's been a really, really long time since she's seen these friends. All right, so And so when the plan was proposed that to Lin Huiying, she was obviously aware of the health risks involved. And yet, and I think her romantic spirit really shines through here, she concluded after some hesitancy that, quote, to get to Kunming once more and suddenly be given sunshine and scenery, a blossoming garden, and that mysterious atmosphere of the Kunming sky interposed with brilliant lights and luminous shadows, wild rain and wind-blown clouds, I think I shall feel better, unquote. Once she arrived at Kunming, she got to stay with some of her old friends, and a lot of friends, knowing that she was there, gathered at her bedside for unending hours of conversation. This passage made me feel so much and reminded me of the friends with whom I shared similar conversations during quarantine. It made me feel a lot, and I really want to share it. Again, reading her correspondence just really made me feel this connections somehow to this woman, across time and geographical boundaries. Not even the most extravagant hopes I had entertained when I was alone in Lizhuang, she wrote from her bed, could be compared with the real and overwhelmingly delightful experiences of this reunion. It took 11 days to get all sorts of odd information, both of the lives progressing under the circumstances of Kunming and the lives lived in the Lizhuang community straightened out for the convenience of the conversing friends who now meet and gather here. But the old bridge of deep mutual love and understanding was set up and expanded in less time than any of us had expected it to take. In 2 days or so, we knew very perfectly where each of us had been emotionally and intellectually. Our views on national political situations, family economics, persons and societies in and out of wars in general were freely discussed, and none of us had difficulty understanding how each of us had come to feel and think that way. Even when conversations were most rambling, there was always among the several of us that soothing flow of mutual confidence and interest, and the added gratifications and fresh stimulations that are the result of the sudden coming together at an eventful time. Not until this time was I aware of the delights of ancient Tang or Song poets who had lacked means to travel, but while en route to their meager official posts, suddenly encountered their friends here and there in a little inn or on some riverboat or in a temple with monks as their hosts, how they poured out their souls to each other in their long talks. Our age may be very different from theirs, but our meeting this time has many similar points. We have all aged greatly, gone through a peculiar form of poverty and sickness, endured long wars and poor communications, and are now apprehending great national strife and a difficult future. Besides, we meet at a place distant from our home, a place where we were compelled to live by circumstance and not by choice. The longing to go back to the place where we spent our happiest times is somewhat like the Tang people's longing for their Chang'an and the Song people's for their Bianjing. We are torn and shattered. We have emerged through various trials with new integrity, good, bad, or indifferent. We have not only tasted life, but have been tested by its grimness and hardship. We have lost much of our health, though none of our faith. We now know for certain that enjoyment of life and suffering are one. So yeah, in conclusion, a legendary life and an indescribably beautiful soul. I really hope that more of her work is translated and accessible in English. And even reading the translation is awesome. But the real thing is yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. I find that a lot of conventional biographies of Lin Huiying focus a lot on her romantic relationships with Liang Zicheng and also with Xu Zhimo. Even this book kind of centers around the career of Liang Zicheng. I guess there's also more sources on Liang than there is on Ling. But I really do think that her writing is the place to go to get to know this wonderful soul. Anyway, thank you for watching and see you next time.